And today, our facilitator is Michelle Schummel. She's a director of community outreach for the New York State Mortgage Authority, Sonny Mays, helping residents achieve their dream of owning their home, first home, condominium, or co-op in New York by providing affordable and innovative home buyer lending tools for low to moderate income home buyers.
We'll talk about
Michelle most recently served as New York State Assemblywoman for the 16th Assembly District in Nassau County. She has served as chairwoman for Assembly Majority of the Conference. She formerly worked at North Shore University Hospital, now Northwell Health, as a licensed physical therapist and certified wound care specialist. But today she's here to talk about buying a home.
Right.
So please welcome her.
Thank you. And thank you, Dr. Elianson. I think I know you already because we've been back and forth, and she's been working so hard to coordinate this, and I really appreciate it. I'm glad to be back in my neighborhood. I'm actually originally from Brooklyn, grew up in Flatbush, Midwood High School. And yeah, go Midwood. And I'm here a lot. My family's still here. I moved out. I crossed the border. I moved to Nassau County. As you know, I've been in government a long time, but prior to that, I was in healthcare for many, many years. I worked at Northwell. Now it's Northwell. I have to call it Northwell. It was North Shore when I was there. Small little community hospital. Now it's like, oh my God. So I was in healthcare, so I respect and thank you for your work, because there's nothing like helping people in healthcare. But I moved into government. And I'm still growing up and figuring out what I want to do. Right now, I am with Sonny Mays, which is the State of New York Mortgage Agency. Good job, Magda, because it's hard to say. Our mission is to provide affordable housing, preservation, building, and also I'm a division of State of New York Mortgage Agency where we provide financial tools, competitive mortgages for low to moderate income people. And the definition of low to moderate income is going to surprise you. New York State gets it. A lot of times we have federal programs that are out there. The salaries are very, very, I think, rather modest. We recognize New York. It's a more expensive place to live. And Governor Cuomo, I work on behalf of Governor Cuomo. He's focused on that. And if you've been hearing about the rent regs, that's us too. That's HCR. It's Homes and Community Renewal. That is the big agency that I work for. But we're a smaller division of State of New York Mortgage Agency, and let's get started. Okay. I would suggest, as I had mentioned before, if you have questions, if you could hold it to the end, unless, because you'll probably get all your answers answered through the presentation, unless you have a question that you're confused about, then of course you can raise your hand. So most important thing is, can I figure out how to do this? Okay, I'm going to jump ahead. I'm going to just talk briefly about our program. HCR, Homes and Community Renewals, focuses on affordable homes, developing communities. We're all about communities. You know, that we realize if it's owner-occupied, chances are it's going to be a more stable community, as opposed to what we call the flips, where someone comes in, buys a house, and then disappears. So we have, in my past life, when I was an assemblywoman, I represented the border of Nassau and Queens. I was there to vote on the $20 billion housing plan. That's a capital plan to invest in housing and supportive housing. And you know what supportive housing is, I'm sure if you're in healthcare. My stepson has cerebral palsy, and he needs supported housing. So he takes advantage of the program that OPWDD and HCR offers. So he's independent, but he does need special care as well. So as a citizen, I take advantage of all that HCR has to offer. Okay, so who are we? Sonny Mays has been around almost 50 years next year. It'll be our 50th anniversary. And we've been providing low-interest mortgages and programs to make home ownership a possibility, particularly for first-time home buyers. But again, how many of you own a home? Okay, that's going to make it real easy. Because we do have programs for people who own a home, and I'll get to that as well. And it's for home buyers, also veterans. We have specific veteran programs. Are there any veterans in the room or anyone married to a veteran? Okay, I'm going to move quickly through that too. Okay, so how many of you are employed right now? All right, me too. So what's stopping you paying a lot of money for rent? If you live in Brooklyn, Queens, Long Island, you're paying a lot of money, right? Mm-hmm. So what's stopping you? Oftentimes what stops you is the Down payment. Well, we recognize that. So that's what Sonny May has been doing. We provide down payment loan assistance and low down payment requirements. So we're going to get into that in a second. So that's where we help. So it's possible. My hardest part is figuring out how to do, okay. So it's the benefits. Let me just preface by saying we are a conventional mortgage, like every other mortgage. When people go, oh, Sonny May, that's special. No, we're a conventional mortgage. The difference is it is financed by the state government. So I'm not here, I'm not making a commission, I'm not getting extra money if you take this. We are plowing the money into the program so you can get better rates and you can get better add-ons. We have add-ons that we're going to be talking about. So there are benefits to Sonny May. Okay. And also, one thing I'm going to say over and over again, buying a home is your biggest investment. Okay? There's nothing bigger except, well, college sometimes. But I'm going to say, for argument's sake, this is your biggest investment. You need to be informed. And we're going to talk about different ways of getting informed. Just by being here is your first step. In that if you're in this room, you're serious about buying a home. But I'm not saying Sonny May is the only program for you. You're going to hear about a lot of good programs. But you need to be educated as what's best for you. And I use the analogy, if you watch a football game, and at first you're like, what are they doing? They're running all over the place. The more you watch, the more you ask questions, you start figuring out what's going on the field. It's the same thing with getting a home. The more you learn, the more you visit our website. Again, sonnymay.ny.gov, or use sonnymay.org. Go start looking at our website. It's real easy. It gives you a lot of information. I'm not a rocket scientist. Everything I say is on the website. And also, through Magda, you can contact me. I'm happy. We have a lot of resources, and we can help you too. Okay, so what do we offer? 30-year. Always 30-year competitive. And what I mean by competitive, we may not be the lowest rates, although this week we're pretty damn low. Interest rates are very low, but we are competitive. Fixed rate, no surprises. What you get is what you get. It's not going to blow up in 3 years to 11%, and the mortgages we'll go over that are low. Long rate locks, 120 days for most mortgages. Low down payment options. We finance up to 97%. That means you'd only have, on most homes, 3% down for 1 and 2 family homes. Minimum cash, as low as 1% for most homes of your money. Down payment assistance, we're going to get to that specifically, $3,000 to up to $15,000. It's 3% of the purchase price up to $15,000. If you're buying an apartment, $300,000, you can get up to $9,000. Flexible credit requirements. We do not underwrite to a FICO score, okay? You want to have good credit, and that's why we're going to talk about housing counseling. How many of you have been to a housing counselor? I definitely recommend, that's something we talk about, that it's a good idea, and I have, if you go on our website, depending on where you live and where you want to, you have Long Island, all over, we partner with a number of housing counselors. It's a good idea because, number one, they'll tell you how much can I afford? What's my debt-to-income ratio. They'll be able, and we'll talk about the DTI as well. These are things they're going to help you, and also there's other subsidies out there that we can allow to be layered in, meaning money, grants, and other loan programs. Sonny May, and this is the point, Sonny May mortgages can be combined with other government, nonprofit, and homebuyer grants and subsidies. Now, I'm going to talk to you about some of them that the state provides, but there are other ones. If you live in New York City, there are programs as well. New York City offers a down payment assistance program. We welcome that. You can layer that in as well. Okay, okay. We have 2 mortgage products, okay? The main mortgages that we have are Achieving the Dream and the low interest loan. It's a little bit of an error. The low interest loan is not our lowest interest. Ironically, it's Achieving the Dream. But both of them are available with the same add-ons and flexible programs. And again, we keep saying it can be combined. I'm talking fast. I'm going too fast. Let me slow down. You can hear the Brooklyn in me. Let me bring it down a bit because I'm excited because I got to get a lot done. Okay, but it can be combined with other grants and subsidies. That's the key. More money that you can acquire that you don't have to put in. You can keep more of your own money. Okay. So let's talk about achieving the dream. That's considered our lowest income to qualify. And we're going to go over the rates, of what your income qualifications are. And they're higher than you think. Okay, on achieving the dream, just like the other program we have for moderate income, as low as 3% down on 1 to 2 family homes. So that's all you'd have to put down. 1% of your own money. Meaning, how much do you need to have the bank? Let's look at that $300,000 house. You would only have to provide of your own money in your bank $3,000. And I have to tell you, if you don't have $3,000 and you're buying a $300,000 home, you're not ready. You need to wait. Because let me tell you, I was late to the home buyer game. I rented my whole life until I was well into my 40s. And I'm used to calling, hello, super, can you come up and fix the pipes? That doesn't happen when you own the home. So you need that extra money, and we recognize that, so we allow you to keep Sonny Mays programs, allow you to keep a little more money in the bank. Okay, we talked about 97% financing. If you're buying a co-op, though, it's 5% down you have to provide, but we have the down payment loan assistance. Co-ops are 5% down. Okay, DPAL, we talked about that again. 3% of the purchase price up to $15,000 for down payment and closing costs. And by the way, our mortgages have no points. Flexible credit requirements. What's the definition of a flexible credit requirement? I said we don't underwrite to a FICO score, but it's 3 lines of credit, and it could be alternative or traditional. Traditional credit is a credit card, a car payment. That's the things you usually traditionally see on a FICO score. But if you don't have that, we would take a gym membership, a telephone bill. We want to see over a period of 18 months that you are paying your bills on time. Your rent payments, if you have rent checks. So over 2 years, we want to see that you have been paying your bills on time. I will absolutely recommend when you go to a housing counselor, have your credit checked anyway. Because a lot of times there are stories out there. I have a friend who had a terrible credit score. She couldn't understand why. She paid all the bills on time. Well, in the old days, when you used to have a phone, a cell phone, and you transferred, sometimes you'd get the bills, you're shaking your head, right? She had a $200 phone bill that she didn't even know she had. It affected her credit score. The minute she went to the housing council, they did what's called a soft check. They pulled her credit, and they went, you have an outstanding telephone bill. She paid the bill. Her credit score went whoop, way up. You would not know that unless it's checked. If you go to a housing counselor, they do what's called a soft pull. It does not affect your credit score, which is good too, because if you do too many checks, it can affect your credit score as well. Okay. We're going to skip the veterans, but we do have a wonderful veterans program. If you're a veteran, and let me tell you, you do not have to be a state worker to qualify for this program. The definition is you're going to buy a home in New York State. So your friends, your family, if they don't work for a state agency or a hospital, they're eligible too. Veterans do not have to be first-time home buyers to qualify. Okay, so that's just something you can keep in mind. No reserve requirement. That's amazing. I wish I knew about this program when I bought my first house, because after you do the down payment, after you do the closing costs, and you're signing all those papers, I still had to show 3 months of reserve in my bank, that I had 3 months of my property taxes and my mortgage payments sitting in the bank for 3 months. We have no reserve requirement. So once you get done signing off all the papers and paying the bills, now granted, you're going to pay that mortgage the next month, but you don't have to have it sitting in the bank. Okay, now we're getting the rubber hits the road. What does it take to qualify income-wise? This is achieving the dream. This is considered our low income. And again, it's not low. I qualify. Okay, so depending on where you live, it's based on the county. This program is available throughout New York State. I'm just now Long Island and New York City centric because it's the audience I'm looking at. But if you're going to be moving to another area, Westchester, Sullivan County, if you go on our website, we have a list by county of what the income levels are. I will tell you, if you're moving upstate, the income requirements are lower. Why? It's cheaper there to live. Okay, so for New York City, 1 to 2 people, that is how many people are going to be living in the home. Could be a husband and wife, could be a mother and a child, and 3 people or more, or the usual would be 2 people and their mother-in-law, or 2 people and a child. So that's 3 or more. That is the household income, right? Okay? And in Long Island, it's slightly higher. And again, visit our website for different parts of the state. Okay.
What about for a single person? Just for
That's considered a one person. So that's one person, and that would be 102. So it's 1 to 2 people.
that one person's income has to be
No, not has to be. That you can't exceed it to qualify. You could be, you understand, I'm sorry, this is the maximum income to qualify. If you make more than that, you can't qualify. It's not the highest, it's the lower. We don't have a minimum level, we just have to show that you could pay your bills. Okay, you get what I'm saying? This is the maximum. If you make, you're one person living alone and you make $105,000, you're not going to, a year, you're not going to qualify for this, but you're going to qualify for our next program. This is the maximum you can make, okay? That's what I meant, but I qualify. I don't make that. Okay. That's TMI. Let's see. Whoop, I'm sorry, I'm still, okay. Sonny May, Achieving the Dream. You know, I'm sorry, I'm having trouble with the, I'm used to my own, okay, what am I doing? I'm sorry I'm doing this. Okay, low interest. Okay, now we're going, I'm going to go down. Now we're going to the next program. This is the moderate level. So let's say you make your household income is too much. That gentleman, you know, he's, what's his name? Bezos, he owns Amazon. Okay, he can't qualify for the Achieving the Dream, makes too much money. He might look at this one. This is our low interest mortgage program. Same interest, same down payment, everything's the same. It's just the income level. The interest level is slightly higher, which I'll get into. Right now, our Achieving the Dream interest level is 3.5. That's pretty low. For the low interest, it's 3.875. Because you're making a little bit more money, the interest level is a little bit higher. By the way, if you all qualify for the same, you all get the same interest and all the same programs. You know, in banks, sometimes, depending on your income or your credit score, you're going to get different rates. No, you're all going to get the same. It's a very egalitarian program. Okay, so just like the Achieving the Dream, 3% down on 1 to 2 family homes, 1% of your own income, your own assets towards it, 10% down on a 3 to 4 family home. You can purchase a 1 unit, 2, 3, 4. At least if it has to be in the same building. And why would you want that? Some people buy 2 family and they can use the other as rental income. That could be used also towards your income. 97% financing for the most part. If you're buying a 3 and 4 family home, we only finance 90%. Down payment assistance, same down payment assistance, flexible credit requirement. There are waivers for target areas and veterans, meaning if you're going to buy in a target area, that's a federal designated target area, and if you go to our website, you can figure it out. Those are areas that are up and coming, that are struggling. You can actually make even more money, and you don't have to be a first-time home buyer. And again, just like the other program, no reserve requirements. What does reserve mean? What does that mean? Let's see who paid attention. What? Right, you don't have to 2 to 3 months in the bank. Good, you're paying attention. Okay, great. Okay, low interest rate. What?
Does veterans get a waiver on the down payment amount of money?
No. What a down payment, what a veteran gets, good question. A veteran does not have to be a first-time home buyer to qualify, or someone married to a veteran. Also, they always get the lowest interest rate. No matter what income, as long as they qualify for one of our programs, they always get the lowest interest rate, and down payment assistance, same interest rate.
Is it better for a veteran to go through a VA loan instead of going through this?
That's a tougher question because everyone is different. That's an excellent question. But there are reasons why you would look at a Sonny May, and there's reasons why you do a VA. A VA does not have a down payment. In other words, there are definite benefits to a VA. But the problem, you're going to look at all the programs we have, and you may decide it's for you. In other words, I would definitely say you'd have to be familiar with both. I'm somewhat familiar with the VA program in that you don't have PMI, but you also have a 1% fee. There are fees that are upfront that you have to pay as well. So you really got to crunch the numbers to see if it works for you. We also have renovation loan assistance that they do not. A lot of veterans also don't qualify for the top program in the VA. With us, you have to be an honorably discharged veteran or in service currently or a reservist. In other words, the threshold is, I think, a little lower to qualify, whereas it's a little bit, your length of service is different for the VA. So you really should be familiar with both. I would recommend going to a veteran, hopefully veteran service officers know about it, and certainly the housing counselors do, okay? But it's a good question, but that's why we say, like the football, the more questions you ask, the better you are in understanding the game. So too with the veterans. Okay, very good question. Okay, income limits. Now we're going to the moderate level. Let's say you made too much money in the Achieving the Dream. This is the maximum you can make. If you exceed these income levels, you can't qualify, except we have one other program you might. Okay, so in New York City, 1 to 2 person household, you can't make more than $128,040, 3 or more, and that could be your mother-in-law or your son, and it could be an adult child, $149,380. The child's income is not entered into it, okay? No matter what. Whether your married incomes will be, because it's based on your IRS. A child is not, but he would qualify. In other words, your threshold is higher because the child, let's say, like I have a 25-year-old living with me. That means that I can qualify. My income level is higher, but his income is not registered in terms of what qualifying, correct. Ooh, you're smart. Okay, so too with Long Island, slightly higher. I don't know why, but for some reason, it has to do with the median income. So this is 115% of the median income. It's based on federal guidelines. Okay, so here now we're getting to the good stuff. Now, every Friday, don't hold me to this, every Friday, in fact, the interest rates change, although lately the interest rates have been pretty stable for the last month. So hopefully they're dipping, although I don't want to know what's going on in this world right now. It's crazy out there, but right now the interest level is lower. So let's look, if you're a veteran, look. Even if you get DPAL, it's always the lowest level, 3.5. But Achieving the Dream, it's also the lowest, 3.5, but there's a slight uptick in interest rate to 3.875 if you get DPAL. But again, remember, it's amortized over 30 years. Actually, for me, I crunched the numbers, it's like tens of dollars a month. The low interest rate starts a little bit higher, 3/8 of a point higher, 3.875, and if you get the DPAL assistance, it's 4.25. Okay. It's flexible. It could be combined, as I mentioned, with other subsidies and grants, and we recommend going to government agencies. Talk to New York City Housing Partnership. They have a number of grants. Local counseling agencies, if you go to our website, you'll see it. First Home Club, that's another program that a number of banks have, and we'll talk about loan officers in a minute. We do not service the loan. You're not going to come to Sonny May. You're going to go to a regular bank. You're going to go on our website and look up for a mortgage loan officer near you, and you're going to hear names like Bethpage. You're going to hear names like Citibank, Wells Fargo, M&T. We work with other banks, but you got to tell them what you want. You want Sonny May, and that because not all know about Sonny May. And you'll go to our website, and you'll actually see, depending on where you want to look for that loan officer, we label them, band it as how many they've closed, how long it's taken them, like a platinum level, a gold level. Obviously, you want someone who knows what they're doing, that they've done a number of them. And also, before you meet with them, make sure they know all the programs. Because what I've learned is some of them know about the basic Sonny May mortgage, but they do not know, very few of them, but some do not know about other add-on programs, which I'm going to get to in a minute, which is the renovation purchase features that we have, which are really terrific, and that's where it makes a difference for the veteran. And I'm going to get to that in a minute. This First Home Club has just been changed. This was something, it was a match. It was for every $1, you get $4, up to, I believe it was $7,500. Now it's been raised, where you can get up to, you put in a little bit of money and you get up to $14,000. So that could be layered in as well. So you're talking about $15,000, another $14,000. You're talking about real money that you can save and put in your account. Okay. Now we're talking about how much are we going to finance? What is the maximum purchase prices on New York City and Long Island? And again, if you're looking in other areas, and again, this is all on our website, let's say Westchester, Westchester is actually the same, but if you're looking upstate, the housing prices, as you can imagine, are lower because in the capital region, Albany, the housing prices are just lower. Okay, so we're talking about for a one-family home, $653,000, 880. That means you can finance up to that, but you've got to qualify for it. I know I can't afford a loan. If I'm living alone, I cannot qualify for a $653,000. I just don't make enough money, and my debt to income doesn't work. And we'll talk about DTI in a minute. But for a two-family, but again, we will finance up to that if you do qualify. But again, that's why you go sometimes to a housing counselor and you say, how much can I afford? Okay. So two-family, 837. But I will tell you, except for Manhattan, oh my God, and I feel bad for you guys because you guys live in New York City and it's tough. New York City, the prices are they're just insane. They're crazy. So we have an issue. We're working on that, on how do we get more bang for the buck, in the 5 boroughs. But there are homes all over. We are financing all over New York City. Manhattan is a little bit of an outlier, and Brooklyn's coming up second. Whoa! I wish I still had my mom had her apartment still in Brooklyn. Oh, my God. Oh, my God. She sold it. I'm like, what did you do that for? Okay. Okay. So our options. Okay, this is a great program, and for our veteran in here, this they do not offer. This is, if you buy a home, and I don't know about you, but where I live, every home is old. My house now is 90 years old. If you think it was in move-in condition, you got another thing coming. The garage was as is. That means I couldn't even get a mortgage. I had to finance it through credit cards to get the garage done, and then the bank said, okay, we'll mortgage you. So what we allow is that you can finance the repairs and the renovations. For example, I want granite countertops. I want new floors through the mortgage. So in other words, that $300,000 house you want to buy or apartment you want to buy, it needs $50,000 of work. If you qualify, meaning you can afford it, you can put in $350,000, you can mortgage it to $350,000, but again, it's at 3.5 interest rate over 30 years versus how much is a credit card interest? 21%. It says, congratulations, we just raised our rates. Capital One. What's in your wallet? So, I hope they're not watching. Don't worry. But that's something that sets us apart. Okay. Oh, this is a great program. This is really a magical program that we've been using. How many of you lived through I was a legislator during 2000, 2009. It was a disaster. Remember when everything was blowing up, the mortgages, those balloon mortgages, and I was there and Governor Cuomo goes, we're $13 billion in debt. It was a disaster being a legislator like that. I didn't sleep for a whole year. What happens is you have homes, and this is everywhere, Long Island, New York City, where people just went underwater, right? That mortgage bust. So there are a lot of what we call empties. I don't want to call them zombie homes. That's a little bit different, and I'll happily define what a zombie home is. But what this program does is it takes homes that are vacant at the time of appraisal. It doesn't have to be foreclosed. It doesn't have to be a zombie. And the definition of a zombie means that it hasn't been foreclosed yet, and the people have just pretty much walked away from their house, and the taxes are still being added on. There's still liens on the taxes, and the bank hasn't foreclosed yet. That's a zombie home. But if the house, what? I'm sorry? We take short sales, but it's a little bit different. Short sales, they take a little bit different. I'll talk to you after. But this is an empty home. A short sale is not necessarily a vacant home. It's just something where they're taking less than the home is worth. But what this is, if the home is vacant, let's say the family moved to Florida, and no one's living there now, you can qualify for up to $20,000 in rehabilitation grants to purchase that vacant home, in addition to the down payment loan assistance and all the other goodies that we offer. All the loans, NRP loans, are 0 interest and forgiven after 10 years. So too the DPAL, down payment loan assistance, is 0 interest and forgiven after 10 years. So if you live in the home 10 years and you sell it, you do not have to pay that loan back. Hang on one second. I will get to you in a minute. But if you sell the home before, you're allowed to move out. They go, oh, that means you can't move out in 10 years? Yes, you can. But you would owe what's left on that loan. But that's providing you don't make a profit. If you buy the home and you sell it in a year or two and you flush, you didn't make money, profit, you don't have to pay that loan back. Let me have that question back there. Can you stand up because it's hard for me to hear them?
The other loan, can you use the, I think the city has 203, something to that.
A 203K?
Yeah, can you combine those?
You can't, no. The 203K is like that's like our remodel program. That's, it's one or the other, but they have a down payment assistance that you can use. But that's a good question. In other words, you're going to get one remodel. In other words, with us, you have to use our remodel program. You have to use our mortgage and our remodel program. But there are other programs that they have, like down payment loan assistance, that you can layer in. Okay? Okay. With this program, you could have a higher income level, and I have it. It's almost over 200. I have the list. It's on the website too. Let me see if I have it. Well, maybe I don't want to hold the flow, but it's 150% of the AMI. It's significantly higher. You do not have to be a first-time home buyer. Let me give you an example. A woman in Syosset lived in a home. Her next-door neighbor down the block, like 2 houses down, a friend of hers had passed away. She was an elderly woman. She ended up purchasing that home. Remember, it always has to be owner-occupied. So she purchased the home, moved in there, kept her original home as a rental property. Now she's got income from her old home and now is living in the other one. So that is absolutely allowed, and that's being done as well. If you're lucky to find a vacant home, and they're out there. And a lot of times the housing counselors know that. So they can help you too and talk to real estate brokers as well. And you also want to talk to a real estate broker who is also familiar with Sonny May. What I have learned, it's not your grandma's Sonny May anymore. A lot of real estate brokers, although it's changing because they're getting a lot of business now from us for a number of different programs that we have, but at one time they said, oh, Sonny May takes forever. I assure you, it does not. It is the same as the other mortgages. The only difference is it's slightly longer if you're doing a remodel New York because, again, you have to get a contractor. It's based on how quickly you can move with your contractor to get everything lined up and working. So for the most part, our mortgage is conventional and works like the other mortgages. So don't let the real estate brokers, they're wrong. They don't know about Sonny May anymore. Okay. You qualify for a rate. Again, to qualify, it's the same rates as the previous based on income, achieving the dream, and the low interest rate program. And the home, the one thing I do want to say is home must be a primary residence. You can't say, oh, I'm going upstate. There's a vacant home in Saratoga County. And you're not going to live there, and you're working in Downstate. We'll find that out. That's not good. Okay. You got to live in the home. Okay. Neighbor, oh, good, we have it. This is a new one for me, so I didn't know. Here's the maximum income. You cannot exceed it, but look at that. For 1 to 2 people house, $192,000. So if you're lucky enough to find a brownstone in the city, Brooklyn, Bronx, that's what it is. To qualify, it's much higher. And Long Island, here too. Okay, and the purchase prices are significantly higher. In fact, I think there is no limit to the purchase price. If you qualify for that mortgage, you can get it under NRP. Okay, the veterans option, I'm going to jump. The only thing you have to know is you don't have to be a first-time home buyer. Okay, now we talked about home buying counseling. Why do we recommend it? Actually, I met someone who's a mortgage lender, and she actually makes all of her people go through it. But again, it's optional for us. Unless you're getting a reno loan like Remodel New York or NRP, then you must go. We insist that you go for education because it's a big, you're going through remodel. But you become a better educated home buyer. You often get a better price for your home because they know how to negotiate. Oftentimes these home counselors, you get a good one, they hold your hand right up to closing, right up to the day before. So it's really worth it. And it's a nominal cost, and sometimes it's even free. Fewer ownership surprises. You need to know the language of home buyers. There are words like closing costs and lawyers and all different things that they can help you with. And you generally get a lower monthly payment. And more important, what we want are successful home buyers. One thing I have learned in my years with, actually it's a couple of years now with Sonny May, our default rate is less than 3%. That's even during 2008 and 2009. Why? Because it's sustainable. We don't let you buy a home that you can't afford. We want you to stay in the house. What's the sense of buying a house if it's beautiful and 3 years later you're underwater? So the home buying piece is definitely part of that to make sure you know about what it means to own a home. Okay, so who qualifies? We're going over, a lot of this is redundant. First-time home buyer, unless veteran or the NRP program, Neighborhood Revitalization Program. First-time home buyer, low to moderate income, and you saw the levels to qualify. You can't exceed those levels, but if you're under those income levels, you would qualify. Someone who is not, let's talk about whether first-time home buyer. None of you own a home, I don't think, so you all qualify. But let's say you tell someone, if you have not owned a home in 3 years or more, you qualify. For example, I have a girlfriend. She owned a home. She was married. She's divorced. She now lives, she's renting. 3 years after, she's a new home buyer again. She's a first-time home buyer. Cannot be used, our program cannot be used for a vacation home or investment home at the time of closing. Okay. Credit requirements, we actually review this. Yes?
Go back to that last slide.
If I can do it. Well, let me see if, yes, in other words, you can't own a vacation home at this time. If you told me, you all said, oh, I don't own a home, but you own a home in Columbia County upstate, then you wouldn't qualify because you do own a home. You see what I mean? In other words, it has to, what? No home, yeah, vacation or other. Does that answer your question?
That includes the timeshare.
Timeshare is different. You know what? Anyone who has a timeshare question, come to me after I'll take your name. That's the first, in all my years, I've never gotten a question about a timeshare. I have a timeshare, actually, upstate. I don't know about I don't think a timeshare counts.
That's not what they mean by
Yeah, I don't think a timeshare, but you know what? Let me I'm going to give you my email, my information, and you'll email me, and I'll get back to you on that one. A timeshare, I don't think that counts as a home, okay? I think that's cool. Although it will enter into your debt to income what your debt is, okay? Because you're paying, depending on how much it is. I know my timeshare is cheap. I don't know, it's like $200 a year. It's a good program. But it does count in your debt, your debt allowance for the month. But I don't think that would qualify. But I'm going to check that out. That's a very good question. Okay. Oh, there was another question? Yes. Okay, are you on the deed? Are you on the deed? And yes, then it counts. Yeah, yeah. Now, and do you own it outright? You own it outright. It's your house. Yeah, that's your home. Yeah, yeah. So for you to buy, other than NRP, if you're on the deed, then that's your home. So that would qualify as you're a homeowner. You're not a first-time home buyer, even though you didn't buy the home. Now, we have circumstances where a family is, the family's moving, the father and mother are moving, and they're giving the home to the child, and they still have to pay for it. They could definitely use this program towards that. That you can do. But if you own the home outright, you're not considered a first-time home buyer. You would be eligible for the NRP program because, you remember, but you have to still live in the home that you're moving, that you're purchasing. Does that make sense? Okay, great. Let me see. Okay, credit requirements. We've gone through a lot of this already. No minimum credit score. We do not, as I mentioned, underwrite to a FICO score, but you need one borrower must have 3 lines of credit for a minimum of 18 months that you've been paying on time. If you have let me just finish. If you have a pattern of late payments, you need a sufficient recovery period and you need written explanations. That I would recommend you definitely go to a housing house. If you've got stuff, they'll help you with that piece of it. And okay, collection accounts and judgments must be paid prior to closing. And guarantors are allowed. Let's say for one reason or another your credit is not wonderful. You can have a guarantor sign on. You know what a guarantor is? That is someone who would sign on. So they don't own the home, but you're using them as kind of like to show that it can be paid. Now, there was a question. Yes. Can you stand up because it's hard for me to hear?
On the first one, the minimum credit score.
Right.
Student loans.
Student loans are part of your debt. Generally, it is, are you on an income-based reimbursement? That would be what it's taken into account. It's generally 1% of per month, 1% per month. That's how they figure it out. But it's on the website, and afterwards I'll tell you. But student loans obviously are part of what your debt is. So that would be counted as to, it's generally what your monthly outlay is. And if you don't know what that is, then it would be, I think it's 1% of 1% for that month. Does that make sense? Yeah, that's how it is. Yes, sir.
Is the guarantor still allowed even if they own home?
Yes, yes, they are. They're just there strictly as, backup for you for your credit. Yes, they are. Good question. I never got that one. That's a good one. Okay, good questions. Yes.
In the same line.
Yes.
I'm a little embarrassed to ask, but I have
Don't.
to say it.
And you can ask after.
Child support.
Yes. No, child support does count as your. Let's talk afterwards, okay? Child support is part of your debt, and don't be at the fact that you're paying it. Don't be afraid to mention it for you, because I have other people who don't pay. So, I have friends that are, in court, so God bless you. So do not be embarrassed, if you'll forgive me for being so blunt. But that does count as part of it. But I think there are ways of working it, okay? So we'll talk, I'll talk to you specifically. Excuse me?
That will count in terms of the occupants when you get your house, when you apply for a house, and in terms of the limited income.
Well, that is what your outlay is. So in other words, you have an income, what you take in, that's your income, and what your debt, what your household allowance is, what you can afford. Again, it's 40% and 45%. So in other words, all of your monthly expenses cannot exceed 45% of your income. Does that make sense? That's the front end and the back end, okay? So we want to make sure that you're not spending 90% of your income to own this home. So that is taken into account. All of your monthly expenses, your loans, your parents' money, whatever it is. And I owed my parents' money when I first got my down payment because I couldn't come up with 10%. So I borrowed from my parents, and that was part of it too. Okay, let's see. Okay, so income employment requirements. You need a 2-year employment history. It's okay to have changed employers. Generally, we want you to stay in the same industry. Like, in other words, if you're now working in a hospital and suddenly you're going to Google, if it's not, we may want to have an explanation, but if you want to stay in the same field generally, it's okay to have been in school. Just show us, you're a new grad. Reliable, stable income. We want to see 3 years of IRS statements that you've been paying that. Other requirements. Savings history. Do you have a savings account? Current housing payments. Counseling. We love counseling. And 1%, as I mentioned, of your own funds. Okay. So benefit recap. So we have as low as 3% down payment. 1% of your own funds. Single-family homes include condos, and also we have, this is more for Long Island, we have manufactured homes. They're kind of like those prefab homes. Those are also allowed. And 2-family homes. That's 3% down for a 1 to 2 family home and condominiums. There's never points. Co-ops, as I mentioned, is 5% down. No points. Low fixed rates. Again, achieving the dream, 3.5 right now, and 3.875 for, and again, it's being videotaped. It may change by the time you're looking at this. It changes every Friday. I'm sorry, I'm talking to the camera out there. Don't hold me to that 3.5. Every Friday, if you go on our website, you'll see what the rates are. But, lately, it's a good time. I hope for, at least that's a good time. The market, I heard, is terrible today. Oh, my God. The market's not doing well, but today the interest rates are okay. Okay, also we talked about the down payment loan assistance. So imagine 3% down plus 3% towards down payment. So we're talking about, a pretty good deal here. And the purchase rehab assistance and financing, which is the Remodel New York and the neighborhood revitalization program where you could buy the home and get money towards restoring the home to what your dream home is. Yes, you had a question. Excuse me? We don't have points. Sometimes points means you can buy lower interest rates, for for a price. Let's say $1,000. Let's say your interest is 4.5. For $1,000, you can get it down to 3/8 of a point lower. We don't do that. Your rate is your rate, okay? What I mean, your rate is a rate depending on what you qualify for, either the Achieving the Dream or the low interest mortgage. Yes, sir?
For the co-ops, are the monthly maintenance fees calculated into that equation?
Yes. Okay. Okay, so how do you apply for a mortgage? There's a couple of ways of doing it. You can meet right with the lender. A lot of times they want you to pre-qualify. In other words, before you even go to a real estate broker, they want to know if you can even afford it. So you can go to a lender and you go to, and again, it's sonnymay.ny.gov or sonnymay.org will take you there. We're trying to push that government website because we are the government. The loan officers will help you with the qualified purchase price, what you qualify for. And a loan officer, in addition to a home buying counselor, will help you. What can I afford? Qualified payments and the assistance available. And, this is what we also allow, seller assistance. There are concessions, there are seller concessions that are allowed depending on how much you finance. And you can also meet with the local home ownership counselor, which we had mentioned, and it's on our website. There are a whole host, like Impact Brooklyn, NHS. These are all fine counselors. And also, it's not a bad time. You're looking, start going on Zillow and Realty.com and start, where do you want to live? How much are property taxes? What's out there, and get an idea of comparables as to what you think. You have an idea of what you could afford. You'd be surprised how much you know. You want to get an idea, but you really want to sit down with a loan officer or a housing counselor and find out what you can really afford. It may be a little bit less than you think. Yes?
I mean, obviously, I see it's a New York mortgage agency, but what if you want to purchase a home in Jersey?
Then what I would recommend, this is not for Jersey. If you want to go Jersey, I have learned they have a similar program. Ours is better. They give you more money. But New Jersey has a program. If you go to the website and look up State of New Jersey First-Time Home Buyer Program, you will find they have an agency that does it too, and they have a pretty good website. I mean, it is a good website, and yeah, but this is strictly for New York State. Okay, these are the two contacts. You could certainly take the people that have questions. There are a couple of people this is my email. Shoot me an email over the next few days, and I'm usually pretty good. Within 24, 48 hours, I will get back to you. And Delphia is our business development officer. She's terrific. She works predominantly with real estate brokers and loan officers because, as you can imagine, they have a lot of questions. I'm more on the consumer side, like you're a consumer. But you can take that information and you can contact us, and we'll do our best to get back to you. Also, there's a 1-800 number. It's actually on the flyer. That you will get a human being. His name is Brian. He is terrific. And in fact, we're maybe considering doing a podcast with Ask Brian, because kind of like Dear Abby about mortgages, because he's a very knowledgeable fellow. And I actually tested when I first got into the job. I said, let me see if this is real, because in government you call up and you get press 1. Thank you for calling. We've changed our digits to help you. And hello, I'm like, oh my gosh, it's a human being. So we have a human being. It's a small agency, and we're pretty flexible. So we also have new programs that are coming out all the time. Yes?
For housing counseling,
how would you go about? Go to the website, and it'll say what county and what you're looking for. You would be looking for home buying counseling, and Kings County, Queens County, Nassau, depending on where you want to go. You can go anywhere. And it'll come up. You'll scroll down, and it'll have a whole list of people. And if you have any questions as to who's the better ones, because most of them are good, some of them are better, but they're all pretty good. If they're our partner, they're usually pretty good. It's through a HomeSmart. It takes you to a HomeSmart site, and that'll give you the. But you know what? Can I tell you? My son is an attorney. I was very disappointed when if I said, "What are you going to law school?" He was an artist, and I'm like, "What are you going to law school for?" But I tell you, he says, when you walk into an attorney's office, you better know what you want. They'll tell you what they want. Even when you go to a counselor, the more you know, the better you can ask questions and You know what I mean? Pushback. And I don't mean pushback in a negative way, but to ask the right questions so you can get the best. There are stories out on the street, you know, that are quite disappointing. A woman sitting like you in a classroom in Long Island, wonderful, smart woman, knew she wanted a house in Long Beach, knew she wanted remodel in New York, knew she wanted DPAL, down payment loan assistance. She knew what she wanted. She goes to our website, and she sees platinum level. So this guy knew what he was talking about. Calls up, oh yes, come on in. She goes to the bank. She goes, oh, I'm here to see Joe. Joe left. He's at another bank. Another woman walks over and says, I'll help you. Okay, she's from the same bank. She goes, well, I want Sonny May. Well, sit down, tell me. And she starts looking, and she goes, well, I want remodel in New York. She goes, oh, New York State doesn't do remodel in New York anymore. It's too risky. She goes, what? What do you mean? I just went to a class last week. No, you don't want that. Well, P.S., she called me the next day and says, you don't do remodel in New York anymore? I said, of course we do. What are you talking about? She goes, one of the loan officers in this bank says you don't. I said, well, let me tell you something. Let me look her up. She was not trained in Sonny May. She had a live customer. She wasn't going to let her go. Well, P.S., we got her number and we told her a couple of things. But I have to tell you, you need to know what you need to know because, you know, let the buyer beware really matters. For the most part, the people that we work with are terrific. It's very rare. That's a rare story. That's why that's the only story I can give you like that. But you do need to know what you know so you can ask. You know, I have a lot of stories on a personal level where I knew what I wanted and the salesman's trying to convince me I don't want it. You can't, I'm walking out, mister, if you don't give me my Prius, because he didn't know what a Prius, this was years ago, my first Prius was, he didn't know about it, he wanted to sell me a Corolla. I says, I'm leaving. So the point is, you need to know. This is, are there any questions? Because I think that's it.
Okay, hold on.
Yes.
For the sake of time, I know there's a lot
Yeah.
of people that only have an hour lunch. If there are some questions, I just want to could we thank Mr. Mulvey?
Thank you. Thank you. Namaste. Thank you. You're a great group.
Very good presentation. Actually,
Great.
It was excellent and very
Thank you.
informative.
Great.
For those of you that have questions, you may feel free to stay, and you can ask the questions and or email me. You can
Yes.
email me if you need the flyers or anything, or
Yes.
if you want me to transfer the information to Ms. Schimmel. I'll be more than happy
Right.
to do that. Okay?
Right.
But thank you for coming, and for those of you that want to ask questions, you may feel free to stay.
Thank you.
Have a great day.